Hey guys, it's San and welcome back to the BulbaSquad and Flesh and Blood 101. So, today we're going to be giving you a bunch of answers to very common questions and introducing you guys into the world of Flesh and Blood. Let's begin. Flesh and Blood is a card game that was created by Legend Story Studios roughly a year and a half ago that now has three main expansions. Welcome to Wraith Alpha Edition, Arcane Rising First Edition, and Crucible of War First Edition. The next set that's coming out is going to be Monarch First Edition. Each of these sets have an unlimited print run, except for Crucible of War and Monarch's unlimited print run will be coming on later on. In Flesh and Blood, there are a total of 6 rarities, going from most common to rarest. We're going common, rare, super rare, majestic, legendary, and then a fabled. So common, rare, super rare, and majestic are essentially going to be very similar in their appearance rate. You're going to pull all of these rarities in your average booster box. Once we get to the legendary and fabled, their rarity substantially increases. Legendaries will appear about 1 in every 4 boxes. So you can already see it ramps up because your average box is going to have 2 majestic rares. As for your fableds, you're going to pull roughly 1 in every 60 booster boxes. To give you an example of what a fabled is, we would be talking about the Heart of Fyendel, the Eye of Ophelia, or the Arknight Shard. The difference between the first edition booster box versus the unlimited booster box is the cold foils. In essence, these boxes are going to be almost completely identical, other than the fact that in the first edition booster boxes, you can pull their exclusive rarity known as cold foils. A cold foil is essentially going to be a almost gold looking outwards appearance. Like the border is going to be gold, but when you look at it, it almost looks dark. It's very difficult to show this to you in any pictures because cold foils are really a must-see in person rarity. But that is the primary difference. Other than that, if you have in first edition, Heart of Fyendel, the Fabled, it will only appear in cold foil, but it will also be in the unlimited booster box in its rainbow foil variant. They will always reprint the cards, again in the unlimited, but not in the cold foil version within the unlimited. Legend Story Studios has stated that whenever a card is printed within a first edition booster box as a cold foil, it will never again be reprinted as a cold foil. Keep this in mind. Listen to the wording that I just said. The cold foil in a first edition booster box. That is what they stated. Perhaps promos get reprinted, but there is no data saying there has been no actions they have taken to tell us they will do that. But the only guarantee they did 100% say with their own words was that if it is printed a first edition booster box, it will never be reprinted again as a cold foil. However, they reserve the right to reprint the cards as many times as they need to for the longevity and health of the game. So that way, you do not have $100 commons. That way your commons and your most useful cards will be cheaper. You want an example? The Spring Tunic of Fyendel that appeared originally in Welcome to Wraith, it has reappeared in Crucible of War as a rainbow foil. Going hand in hand with the reprint policy, a lot of people have been asking about the reserve list. Well, for those of you that don't know anything about Magic, the reserve list is essentially a list of cards that Wizards of the Coast has said they will never reprint again. Legend Story Studios has come forward and said they will not have a reserve list. That is counterintuitive to the health of the game, and by doing that, they are essentially saying some decks are going to be better than others because you're going to have more money. That is the reason they will not have a reserve list. Instead, they are drawing a line in the sand with the cold foils, collectors and investors over here in first edition. Players, you have your unlimited booster boxes. You want a better example of that? Look at Alpha First Edition Welcome to Wraith, and then look at the Unlimited Welcome to Wraith. There is literally thousands of dollars of difference. The Unlimited booster box is running around in the $90 range. The Alpha First Edition is $6,000 or more. Now, are you interested in learning how to play Flesh and Blood? I'm not going to teach you because there's already an official guide out there. Now, even though I said I wasn't going to teach you guys how to play the game, I am going to give you a very brief overview of it. If you think Pokemon, Magic, or Yu-Gi-Oh! In most games like that, you have your monsters, your essentially soldiers to send into combat. Flesh and Blood, however, is a game where you yourself are the fighter. You are the hero of the game. You have your arsenal, which is your armor on the side, and you have your weapons, and your cards are your abilities to attack the enemy. It is going to be you versus your enemy in a no-holds-barred match. You are not going to be fighting with endless armies. You are a one-man army. Another major question has been about the rotations. Will Flesh and Blood have rotations? Well, no. Straight up, no. Flesh and Blood will not have a rotating standard model. The reason for that is because the creators believe that by having a rotating standard, you are essentially banning 1,000 cards a year and hurting both the players and collectors in the long run, because now if you have spent, let's say, theoretically $40 on your deck and suddenly it gets out of rotation / banned, now your deck is worth pennies. That's just unfortunate. So no rotating standard. No, there will not be a first edition stamp added to any Flesh and Blood cards. The reason for this is because the first edition stamp breaks the aesthetic of the Flesh and Blood cards. Instead, moving forward, there will be a U underneath the serial, on the bottom of the card where the serial number is. It would have something like, for example, Mon/001U to mark it as an unlimited card. The first edition cards will not have this, so if that's something that matters to you, that's how you will identify first edition cards. Keep in mind, Arcane Rising and Welcome to Wraith do not have this. In short, Legend Story Studios does watch the secondary market. They watch it because they need to know the health of their game. They need to know if certain cards are too expensive and whether or not to reprint them. However, their actions are not going to be primarily driven by the secondary market. It is only there to help guide certain actions such as card reprints that are very playable in the meta. Yes, this is the big question. Why will Flesh and Blood survive versus all these other card games that have failed? This is the reason the creators gave. They have been in the industry for 25 years. They have spent 7 years preparing the game. Not just the card game as a whole, but also the business, finding a way to make it have a long lifespan and not run its course too soon. Overall, they are very confident in the fact that they will break the mold for the game. I'll throw in my own opinion into this. Flesh and Blood has a very unique approach to the card game world in such a way that for the first time they are segregating the collectors and investors away from the players. Players have always wanted cheap cards because a game should not cost hundreds of dollars for a deck, but collectors and investors have always wanted value for reselling down the line, or just to be able to have these cards at high rarities. High rarities usually translate to high value. Because Flesh and Blood created this first edition versus unlimited format, you can make them both happy. The unlimited players can have their cheap cards. They can have Fableds that are worth only, and the Fableds being worth only like $100 or $200. May sound expensive to you guys, but remember, 60 booster boxes. It's expensive to acquire them. And first edition people will have all of this money and all these places to invest their money. For that reason, I have faith in Flesh and Blood. I did not fall in love with Flesh and Blood because it made me money. All these booster boxes you see here, they're all unlimited. I don't have a single first edition booster box. I wish I did, because I want to open one. But I believe in the game. That is why I think Flesh and Blood may break the mold. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.